In Arizona, there has been a bit of a breakthrough in the investigation into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, the mother of NBC Today host Savannah Guthrie. The FBI says a glove containing DNA found near Guthrie's house appears to match the one worn by a masked person seen in the home's doorbell camera. The DNA is being run through a national database that could take up to 24 hours. Investigators have yet to zero in on any motive for her abduction. As we say, that abduction happened some 3 weeks ago. Tanya Fletcher's been following this for us. So, Tanya, what's the latest?
Well, today, Sarah, investigators confirmed that Guthrie's own family members have been ruled out as possible suspects in the investigation. Let's go back to that glove, though, that you mentioned off the top. This is where the biggest clue really so far in this investigation, because they swiped DNA off of it. They say it does match the gloves seen in this door cam footage, as you say, from the night that she went missing. And they are running it through that national database, as you say. It could take 24 hours, but the big break will come if it does have a name match. They could have a possible suspect name, and that, of course, would be the biggest break so far. This glove, by the way, that they ran the DNA on was found in a field off the side of a road in nearby the Tucson home. And they say, actually, in the days since that they've been searching, they found 16 gloves that they've looked into. Most of them belong to searchers in a 2-mile radius of the home who simply dropped, gloves during their sweeps. But they say this one was different. That's why they ran the DNA, and they say, yes, it does in fact match what we see in this door cam footage here, Sarah.
Yeah, so we're 3 weeks in. And we continue to see the family, specifically Savannah Guthrie, taking to social media, making just heart-wrenching pleas for any kind of news about her mother and possibly the mother's return.
Yeah, and this latest one uploaded yesterday to Instagram, she makes an appeal directly to whomever might be responsible for her mother's disappearance.
It is never too late to do the right thing. And we are here. We believe. And we believe in the essential goodness of every human being.
So the FBI has since doubled the reward in this investigation. Of course, she went missing January 31st. She'd gone out for dinner with their family. They dropped her off at home, and relatives reported her missing the next day. Traces of blood that were found on the front porch were run through DNA tests, and it did, in fact, confirm to be the blood of Guthrie herself. Now, family members describe her to be in frail health. They say she's in need of daily medication to survive. She also has a pacemaker, so they're very worried about how she's getting on day to day with those health conditions. At least 2 purported ransom notes have surfaced since her disappearance, both sent to media outlets. And investigators have said at this point there's no proof or evidence of life to lead them down certain trails or assumptions, but also no evidence of death. So at this point, they're still kind of in that holding pattern, not sure where this investigation is going to go, if and when she'll turn up, and whether that will be dead or alive, Sarah.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a weird time in this investigation. Tanya, thank you very much. So we want to talk more about this with my next guest, John Pistole, former U.S. Deputy Director of the FBI. John, thank you for your time. We are now week 3 in Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. What do you make of where things are at right now?
Well, it's obviously a critical time, as each day has been, that goes by just for her health, presuming she's alive and proof of life can still be provided, her medications that she needs, all the things that have been covered already. And I think it really comes down to 2 key areas: the forensic evidence, if you will, the DNA that's been mentioned, what's called CODIS, C-O-D-I-S, the combined DNA index system that the FBI administers. If there is a match there, that would be a huge breakthrough from that glove. So I think it's important to note that it's the glove that appears to be a similar type glove, as opposed they don't have a DNA match, as has been misreported on some other networks and things. And so those 2 things, but I think it comes down to the forensic evidence versus what I'll call testimonial evidence, and we can talk some more a little bit about that. But that balance between the 2, what is the best lead that will lead to the recovery of Nancy Guthrie and her safe return?
Yeah, I called off the top. I said it was, a bit of a breakthrough, and that the fact that they found this glove, I suppose, if there is As these tests are being run through within 24 hours, if we do find out that there is DNA, I mean, is it more than a bit of a breakthrough? Is it as much of a lead as they've had so far?
Well, sure. I mean, in addition to the video from the doorbell, that's terrific evidence, of course, that's showing the actual kidnapper there at the time and everything else. So the DNA, that would be a huge breakthrough. If it is from the kidnapper, I would just urge caution that I can't imagine a kidnapper just haphazardly throwing a glove that he used in the kidnapping out the window 2 miles away, presuming that there would be a thorough search. So I wouldn't get my hopes up too high on that. I think where we are now is that the balance is shifting from the limited amount of forensic evidence to more on the testimonial side, meaning somebody who knows about the kidnapper calls in to claim the $100,000 reward, or just because of Savannah Guthrie's heartfelt appeal to the better nature of people, or is somebody who suspects something. Look, maybe a coworker hasn't shown up for the last 2 weeks for work because they are holding Nancy Guthrie as a hostage. So that testimonial, I think, is increasing, while the forensics, if this does not come through in terms of the DNA, I think that is starting to diminish because there's just limited opportunities as time goes on.
You can hear in that social media post from Savannah Guthrie, you can hear desperation is in her voice, and we can all understand why. And repeatedly she says, we believe, and she's not saying specifically, what she believes, other than in the good nature and the goodness in people to do the right thing here. As an investigator at this stage, 3 weeks in, there has not been any proof of life at this point. I mean, there has not been to the contrary either. But at what point, how do investigators continue to move forward? And do they have that same belief that this can be solved?
Well, yeah, there's always, until there's indication that she's no longer alive, it will be an open, active investigation. Joint investigation between the FBI and the Pima County Sheriff's Office, along with a number of experts from the FBI's laboratory at Quantico, Virginia, and others, looking at, again, all the forensics that can say this. Let's rule out all the possibilities. Over 30,000 tips have been called in, and so there's a triage of those tips to say this is possible, this is just crazy. Well, okay, let's put that aside. We'll get to it, but let's make sure that we are addressing the highest priority ones. So there's a large group of people, agents and analysts, investigators, who are parsing through everything to say, this is what makes sense. And it may be that one tip leads to another tip, or that two different tips come together unbeknownst to each other that says, okay. And the leads from Walmart, for example, about the purchase, the backpack and the gloves and maybe the ski mask and things, those Walmart's got great security features, cameras in their stores, right, and all those things. So those are all good leads that they are pursuing, and hopefully one of those will come through, combining all that evidence.
Right, yes, and you mentioned that, so they've identified where the backpack came from Walmart. They're able to say at least that much. We can't say at this point when or where. Finally, let me just ask you, I got a TMZ, the outlet in the United States that has continued to say that it is receiving ransom notes, a fourth one now related to this case. To what end are investigators looking at that, in short, seeing whether it's credible or not? I mean, what do you think? Is this actually from the suspect, or is this opportunist? And is it just a distraction?
Well, good points. Yeah, I think that there's probably distractions because they're probably opportunists. I think the real kidnappers, if they actually had her, would provide the proof of life, because they know they're not going to get paid the ransom until they can provide the proof of life. So absent that, there may even be more ransom demands that we don't know about. This is a very unusual case because usually ransom demands go just to the family, not to the media. Not to outlets would say, okay, let's do this or that. So it's a very closed system, if you will, in terms of negotiations, if you will. So you show us proof of life, and not AI enhanced anything like that, but this is actually Nancy, and she's alive and well. And if you pay me X amount in Bitcoin, whatever it may be, then we will arrange for her safe return to you once that ransom is paid or however that's negotiated. So, yeah, right now I would be suspect of or suspicious of those ransom notes.
Thank you, John Pistole, former U.S. Deputy Director of the FBI. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.